Today I'll be explaining how you do an auto email search for your buyers in Northstar MLS. So let's start by taking a look. We're going to open up Northstar MLS, and hopefully at this time you know how to use some of the search functions. And that's essentially exactly what we're going to do. We're going to search for a property, and that's the first part of setting up the auto email. So you'll hit search. You'll select the category that likely fits this client. In this case, we're going to use an example of a single family search. The first thing that I like to do is to skip right over here and take a look at the map. I like to have the clients present with me in this first initial meeting in our buyer consultation. And we can look at this together, and maybe we can even look at some of the initial results that are generated as a result of the search. So we click on map. If you know how the map functions work in Northstar, you know that we have a drive time app, how far you can drive to or from a certain place. We have a radius we can search. We have rectangles, polygons, and then freehand. So for example, for our example today, we're going to pretend that we have a client that lives in Forest Lake and they want to drive no more than 30 minutes to work. So what I'll do for them is I'll click drive time. We'll enter in a location, and for the sake of what we're doing again today, I'm going to put in our building's address, drive to here, arriving at 8:30, and they'd like to live within 30 minutes of that location, and hit add. This is really a cool feature because it tells you exactly how long it takes to get somewhere. I'm going to say this to start out with. When I'm talking with a client, I'm doing more than just hearing what they're telling me. You know, you've heard the scenario where it says buyers are liars. They're not really liars. They just don't know necessarily what they're looking for. So I want to question them about their decisions and why they're thinking a certain way. So here's an example. I want to live 30 minutes to work. I might want to challenge them to give them more opportunities to look further out and maybe more potential listings to view, more potential homes. I would say, I know what you're saying. You want to live 30 minutes, no further than 30 minutes out. But what if you found the perfect property that was 35 minutes away? How about stretching that drive time a little bit further so we can just see if there's properties on the fringes that you really might want to see? And the same applies for some of the other searches. If you search in a certain box that they seem to like, a certain corridor, you may want to say, how about we expand that search just a little bit in case something just out of our fringes comes into play. They can receive it as a potential. They certainly don't have to go look at it. So get them to think about that all the way through this process. Once we've established our location, we're going to go back to criteria. The first thing we're going to click here is we want to obviously be looking at active properties. We're going to look at a price range, and the same thing applies. They may say, Dan, I want to search up to $400,000. That's my max. And I might say, here's what I suggest then. If that is your max, why don't we actually put the search up to 425? So we might be able to see properties that are coming into your price range, or possibly if something came in at 410, you could make an offer of 400 at your max. How does that sound to you? Great. So instead of just saying 400, what they thought, now we're going to be putting that search at 425. And obviously the minus after it is 425,000 or less. The same applies with bedrooms. Dan, I'd like to, we decided we'd like 3 or more bedrooms. I would say, how about this scenario? Just asking, if we had a home that had 2 bedrooms, but it had a capability to put 1 or 2 more in an unfinished space, would that be something you'd be interested in? They may say, nope, I need 3 bedrooms right away. Or they may say, that'd be great. We can always finish that later and get the bedrooms we need. So in this case, we might go up to 4 bedrooms in our search as a result of questioning them or just trying to get them to tell us and dig in a little deeper on why they're looking for what they're looking. The same would apply for bathrooms. In this scenario, we're just going to do a 2+ bath search. Other things, you might want to not question them on all of this stuff, but you might want to get some of the details in just enough so that they yield the right amount of results. One example here would be, well, here, we're going to narrow some down right away. We're going to ask them, are you looking at single family? Is this a townhouse, a condo? Well, we're only looking at single families. We're not interested in townhouses, so we're reducing that, what's available now. Oftentimes, I'll ask them the key things about how many garage stalls it needs to have. The same thing would apply. We need 3 cars. Well, what if we had a 2-car garage and we have space to build a detached garage? Is that something you'd be interested in? No. Okay, then we'll leave it at 2 cars, or we'll leave it at 3 plus. So I'll enter in that. Same would apply for year built and a lot of the other features. The thing is, just constantly be asking, stretching, seeing if there's other options, trying to get them to expand their search, because there's not always a lot of properties available for what they're looking for. In our case, we're already down to 23 results. So here we're going towards our auto email. At the end of this, we hit results. Our 23 properties come up. At this point, you actually may want to open up some of these properties and go over them with the client and start showing them this first search, kind of giving them a taste of what they can look forward to. And as a result of this meeting, you may set up a few properties to look at. I would focus on just hitting the highlights: 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 3-car garage. I would always recommend opening up the photos. That's what attracts us the most. And we walk through this as well. So you could do that with several properties in your search while you're doing this with them. But at the very end of showing them a handful of these properties, what we're going to do is we're going to click on Save. Right below that, we're going to click Save New Auto Email. First thing we're going to do in here, if we already have a contact in our system, if they already are, I'm kind of guessing at this point they're not, we would drop down and select their name. Otherwise, we're going to select Create New Contact. In this case, I'm going to put my name. Oops. And my email address. After that, we're going to hit Save. There is one box up here that's checked. It says Enable Reverse Prospecting. That basically means that whenever this property gets sent to your client, the listing agent of that property gets notified that one of your clients, it doesn't say which one of your clients received an auto email. So that would enable them to have a conversation with you about telling them about their property. So that's optional. In this case, I'm just going to hit Save. So once we have that down, we can always blind courtesy copy the agent of all the emails. I would certainly want that as an agent. Subject. There's 2 messages that are going to go out to clients when they're receiving these emails or batches of emails. There's the initial welcome email saying, welcome to the system. You've been signed up for this search. So that email has some standard language, and then you can pick the subject. I'm just going to make this subject for simple purposes today, welcome. That is a one-time email. The rest of the emails are going to look different than this one. Then we look at the reoccurring email. The reoccurring email may say in a subject line, listings for you. Then a message. Here are some new listings. If you are interested in any of them, please reach out to me. And I'm just going to put some garbage in there for now. So once we review our 2 email types, it shows us our criteria. The next thing here is Concierge. If you enable Concierge Mode, what that basically says is, instead of them getting the listings each time these listings pop up in the MLS and they receive them, they send them to the agent first, the agent representing the buyer, and we have the opportunity of approving the ones that they actually should see before they get sent out. There's probably a few reasons you'd want to do that. Maybe you know specifically what they're looking for, and you're going to weed out some of those properties so they don't receive so much of the garbage. You know that isn't something they would like. So think about that. And then here is that show contact and reverse prospecting. So you might want to look at, is that an option for you? Enable this as a favorite search on your home tab as an agent. Maybe you should do that. You pull up your home tab, it's right there, and you can have it right in front of you to look at on a regular basis every time you log into the MLS. The last thing here is schedule. It says, when do you want to receive these new listings? When do you want your clients to see these new listings when they become available? The ASAP is, let's say 5 properties in one day meet the requirements for this buyer. ASAP, they would receive 5 emails that day. If you go to daily, just once a day, all the properties would be sent at one time. Now, it seems like the second option would be very convenient, but in certain markets, and you want to be the first one out there and notified immediately, you could imagine if a property is listed at 9 a.m. one morning, they're not going to get the email. If your search is set for a certain time, they're not going to get that email possibly till the next day. So maybe you do want to select ASAP. So that might be a good option. At the end of this, we hit save. And it takes us right back to the listings. Now, you could have done this search, gone through this process, hit save, and now show the client some of the first batch of properties too. That might be a good option as well, so you're not distracting them halfway through the process. But as of now, what happens for that client is they get their welcome email, they open it up, you can tell them to anticipate, they'll basically get a dashboard. That dashboard will allow them to delete some, make some their favorites. They can always log back in and look at all the properties that have come into them. So it's real handy. And that's pretty much all there is to the search. So hopefully this was helpful. If you have any more questions, you know how to reach out to us. Have a great day.